In terms of ways of owning gold and silver, there's at least two that come to mind. One is just a personal collection. The other is a precious metals IRA. Can you touch just briefly on both of those?
Well, yes, there are ways of owning precious metals within IRAs, and we can guide you to all different kinds. There are kinds where there's a custodian that will hold it for you. There are kinds where you can actually hold it yourself, although it's still tax-wise, it's within the IRA. Personally, I don't recommend anyone hold anything in an IRA. I cashed all mine out 4 years ago because I believe the government's going to eventually, if not confiscate them, then raise the taxes so high that it won't be worth holding them. And, when you see Obama announce his MIRA plan, to me, that's just the starting point of creating a system for confiscating IRAs. But yes, we can certainly for the people who want to hold on to IRAs into ways of doing that. But what I would advise for everyone, and what I do personally, is you hold it outside of the system, and you can either hold it at your home, or we have a great storage facility. Actually, we have multiple options for storage. It really depends on your personal situation.
Well, why don't we walk through, just so people can picture it, maybe three or four different options on how they might hold gold or silver in a personal collection outside the system, touching on things like what is secure vault storage, what's the difference between segregated versus commingled, storage, bank deposit box, home safe, other options that they might think about. Just if you could lay out three or four options for people to think about.
Well, I would say probably 90%, no, excuse me, I'd say 99% of the owners of some sort of gold and silver throughout the world hold it on their own possession. That is either in their house or at some place they know of personally. Of course, 1% of the owners hold it in storage, but then again, that probably accounts for 70 or 80% of the actual gold, because that 1% is the governments and institutions that own large amounts. There are very few people where holding it in storage, individuals, not institutions, makes sense. I'm one of them, for instance, because I'm a high-profile owner. I write every day about owning gold and silver. The same would go for someone who had, let's say, a lot, or they didn't feel safe protecting in their home, or they're a renter or an expatriate or a high-profile person, as I said. So or they believe that they're going to be moving a lot and they don't want to have to move it around. So there are reasons why an individual might want to put it in storage. Otherwise, I'd say just get a safe in your house, hide it in the basement. Don't tell people about it. Get an alarm, a dog, a gun, you name it. But as for storage options, we at Miles Franklin have options all over the world, from the United States to Canada, Switzerland, Hong Kong, Singapore, you name it. Now, I would first and foremost tell people, do not put anything in the United States institution. We use the depository in Fargo, North Dakota, which is fine, but we believe that the U.S. government is very dangerous when it comes to these things, and the last thing you want is to have an X on your gold, saying, look, I'm in a big depository here in the States. What I use personally is Miles Franklin's program with Brinks Canada. I've been there and I've seen it several times. It's segregated, as you say, which means it's your gold. It's not just in a pool of gold where you own a piece of it. When we go, and I've gone several times, I have a lockbox with my gold in it, and I recognize the gold that I sent up there, and it's audited as such. That's segregated as opposed to unsegregated. And the same goes for allocated versus unallocated. Allocated means it's allocated to you. Unallocated means it's in a pool, and therefore, if you ever needed to get it back, it would have to come from a pool of gold that's owned by a lot of people, and there's a lot of fears that some of those pools are over-owned, just like the paper gold market has more claims on the physical gold underneath it than there is actual gold. And again, the other programs we offer are not our personal programs. The one we have at Brinks in Montreal, our officers go several times a year to audit it, as well as a third-party auditor. Our other program, and we charge by the ounce, not by the percent bullion value. So, like if the price of gold doubles, your storage fees are going to stay the same. Just about everyone else is going to charge percent of bullion value, which means if gold doubles, your fee doubles, etc. And the other programs we have in Switzerland and Singapore and Hong Kong, it's a very reputable company, but it's not our program. We would just refer you to it.
So, still to a beginner, a lot of this sounds fairly exotic. It sounds fairly complex. We start talking about, international foreign countries all over the world and different ways. If you could just repeat one more time what you think would be the simplest step that a first timer could do to who wants to be able to say that to realize that for their family, not all of their wealth is vulnerable to the whims of the market or of government, but they want to really have something that they can hold in their hand that has solid, time-proven value. What's a initial first step that they can do?
It's very simple. When it comes to gold, there's only a handful of products. You know, you have your gold eagles from the U.S. Mint, your gold maples from the Canadian Mint. There's really not that many choices. Silver, there are more choices, but we're still going to probably recommend that you start out with some of the more liquid names that are well known, like the Silver Eagle and the Silver Maple Leaf. And also for silver, you might want to get some what's called junk silver, which means old pre-1966 dimes, quarters, and half dollars, which were 90% silver. Just in case, for the worst case scenario or barter, you might want to get a little bag of that. But really, you just buy a few of those coins, keep them at home in a safe, and just start to understand and do your research about what they mean. And as you get more comfortable with the concept, you can add to your position. And if you need to store it overseas, we can, or in the States, we can, let you know what the various options are.